I seen another response. It's a guy I like on X. He responded to well, if you guys know, recently on the stream I responded to a guy on X that was talking about how do you get characters to react, care, and move forward in a sandbox environment where there's no railroad. How do you get them to be active without, like, by just dropping them in? How do you make that work? And he put a video together today, which I'm like, I totally get it. And it's all about find out what the players want, talk about hooks, and I wish he had checked out what I had to say, because I put it in the video form too. It's the problem is he even came up with a complaint. Why would players be there if they don't want to initiate and get up and do something? Well, it just happens. Look, some people don't know where to start. And then he talked about hooks. Well, the problem is what the guy is saying is the initial commenter is saying even with the hooks, even with knowing your players, and sometimes you don't get time to know your players. It could be the first run with them. But either way, it's what the commenter is saying is pretty much, even under those conditions, how do I get players to move forward? But the guy is giving all kinds of opinions that would probably not really help, right? It wouldn't be good advice, because it's like, get to know your players. Here's the hooks that they like. Well, dude, what he's saying is, even if he puts the comment is, because I've heard a lot of guys do this. I put in hooks. The players tell me that they like ideas they want. I do all this stuff, and they still sit at the end and barely do anything. That was the point of my video, was to counter, not like the hook is like, what they're talking about by hooks is like the hook to get you like a fish. Hook, come on, man. Right? It's like the dangling the thing, the carrot or whatnot. And I said, my advice was to understand that a lot of times the carrot doesn't work. The bait doesn't get people on the hook. It just doesn't. That's the initial problem for a lot of people. They put the hook up, they know their players, and you put players in a sandbox where they're free to do whatever they want, and you run to players that, no matter how well you know them, it doesn't mean anything. You put everything up, every bait, every carrot you could, and they just don't come at it. Used to actually hooking the players, pulling them up from the sea. I hear you. But it's like, look, guys have ran into this problem where I've talked to guys over the years, and they tell me, like, look, I've done everything. I put the hook in. I talk to them. I know them. And they still don't do anything. So when I put my video together, it was saying, my advice is, despite that, here's what guarantees gets them going. And it's not really my advice as much as, well, it's my advice to apply to D&D. But the gimmick comes from a certain game. Traveler. Traveler understood this instinctively, the guys who made it. And they put one gimmick in there that guaranteed in their sandbox, because that was really the gaming you were going to do, was a sandbox. What guarantee got players going in Traveler when there's really no hook at all? Like, there's not much of a hook. You don't do a lot of pre-planning in Traveler. Traveler is a lot of improvising, a few gimmicks, and the gimmicks aren't even major hooks, because you haven't even built a hook. You haven't built a plot. You haven't done anything. You've just sort of like it's some vague hook over here. Well, there's a group down here. There's something over here, but it's very vague, and you're not really meant to overkill. Why would Traveler not concern itself with hooks in the same way people might advise you in D&D? It's because they have something that makes them not have to worry at all. Traveler has a gimmick called pressures, common sense, and pressures is built into the game. Like, you might need to get your ship repaired. You might have so much time to get something paid. You have a limited amount of time to go connect with somebody. You have connections like NPCs that are going to push you towards things. They can call up, they can come over to you and say, Here's a chance, and you only have so much time to take the chance. These are pressures where it's like time limit pressures. If you don't accept the job, you're in trouble. You're not going to be able to pay the thing off in time and you lose it, right? Or you're not going to be able to get that thing repaired. Oh, Blue Thing 3D. It is a fantastic tabletop role playing. I'll sit here and recommend it to you right away. I've done a stream on it if you ever want to check that out, but I'd recommend it all day long. It's fucking awesome. It is awesome. And it's work for the game master, but it's not the same kind of prep work you do as a DM for D&D. Most of my books and quests arise from happenstance during improvisation game. I often get prepared to adventure till the next session if they bite. But Blue Thing 3D, and Black Rose has already heard this from me. What you want to do in a D&D game is steal that gimmick, right? It's not hard. It's like, okay, players, you got some connections. You give maybe some NPCs they know in a town that they're in that can provide information. But really what you're going to say to them is maybe they own a building. Maybe they own something. So there's an example. Like they own something and they pay rent on it. And they have a month to make sure the rent's paid on it. If not, they lose this thing that you make sure is an advantage to them. There might be people there that could offer them information about finding a relic or an item that, again, you can align it with what the players want. You talk to them, you interview them before the game. What do you want with your characters? What are you interested in? And then you put NPCs that may be in the town that they heard about or their connections tell them about. They'll be here for 2 weeks or maybe a week, and you can go see them and they can provide you information. And maybe they can provide you information that, hey, you go down here, you do this, you can get the relic. Or maybe there's a small amount of time for you to get to a place before something closes up or another group gets there. Either way, these are pressures. These are like time pressures where what you're really doing is giving the incentive to the players to get up and move with their characters. Like if you don't, you're going to lose the place. If you don't, that thing you want for your characters, that opportunity is gone. If you don't go see this guy, he's going to be leaving at one point. There goes your chance to get that information. So basically, it's really important to get things going. Get things going. And that's all the information they want. Look, once you get players going, they're going. Like, how do you keep momentum? That takes care of itself. That's my real, like, there's no real advice there. Once players get going, you're pretty much okay, right? Because it gets them going, and they're going to learn what they want, what they're doing, and it's easier to get them to take the initiative at the next part of the game. When they get back from the thing, sit down, now they have an idea. Things are already going. There's already a pace going. You don't really need to keep pushing momentum for players. They'll take care of it. But that starting block, there's horror stories. Many game masters over there, not everybody, so we're only talking to the guys that had the issue, right? Of course, if you don't have an issue or you have players that take the initiative, good on you, baby. Good on you. But yeah, a lot of players, even if you put the hooks in, even if you know what they want, even if you align everything, the complaint comes from guys that have said, I've done all that. I've done the hooks. I've done the interviews. I've done the talks. I've lined up what they want. I do everything. And they still sit there with their characters. This is what you're told when you actually hear DMs tell you the story about players not taking the initiative at the start of a sandbox, free to do what you want campaign. Well, that's just when you put pressures in. Pressures are you owe so much. You got to see somebody. And it's all like time pressure. You got so much time to pay the thing. You got so much time to see someone. You got so much time to get down to a place where you can access an entrance before it's completely sealed off. And if you don't go, you don't get the opportunity. If you don't go, you don't get the thing. If you don't go, you don't pay off the rent for the building. You lose it. Right? Opportunities are gone. It's all time pressure. I do have players I would classify as watchers. Now, I hear you, Blue Thing 3D. Sometimes you can get lucky and you get a group where there might be 3 watchers, like you're saying. I know what you mean. And you might be lucky to have a couple people take the initiative and then the others will follow them. But in reality, if you have just a group of players, like you might be in that situation, where they can really die on the vine, if you get what I'm saying, at the start of that game. The pressure gimmick I'm telling you about here really does take care of it. It really is initiative, because you want to not just to build, you make sure it's something valuable to them, like for later, especially they want to maintain it. You find out what they're looking for. So not just in hooks, but the hook could be like a limited amount of time to get to the hook. Like it's like, you guys really want to get these things for your characters, right? Yeah. Or the big money gimmick, the type of gold they want. It's not just accessible anywhere. Like over here, there could be a job that's like, you know, a little bit of gold for each. But the guy who's only here for a few days, man, he's talking big pay. Or where they can get a lot of treasure, the place, it might say that, you know, within a month, that place will seal itself off. Maybe the ocean will creep up and, you know, come over an area that's like on a cliffside or something, where you can enter it now for the next, 2 months, but at one point that thing is going to close up if you don't get there and get moving, right? Or some type of other group is competing for it, but if you get there before they do, you get that treasure. So of course you want to make sure these are attractive things, beneficial things. The pressures lead to beneficial things that are good for the characters. If they get up and move, they pay the rent. If they get up and move, they get the information to go get the thing. But it's a time pressure. It is telling them, you sit on your butts, that guy is gone. You sit on your butts and you wait too long, you're losing that place, right? So that's what you're going to clarify with players when you start. And if you need some extra incentive or information passed on, make sure you always make sure a group knows 1 or 2 NPCs that might come see them, so you can provide further information. And you never know what you're going to improvise. Be ready to improvise everything. As a game master, don't be afraid of it. You might say, well, what if I improvise and I don't have nothing ready? Okay, let me help you here, kid. So you improvise, like just say, because you want to be able to freely think of something and go, right? Oh, yeah. You could do that. And you wouldn't even have to make a full-on character, but characters you can slightly upgrade as time goes on if they survive or get a hit or get something, right? So you can start them off as like, treat them all as like monsters, make it easy on yourself. Give them like a starting couple hit dice and then just treat them like they're upgrading. You don't have to count it as levels, but just count it like they're upgrading. That's what you got to do. And that way you can have an easier time measuring them where you want them to be, instead of just trying to mechanically level them up. Like, trust me on that. You just want them to mechanically be where you want them to be, right? So you can upgrade them that way. But yeah, you can have a competing group. You can do all that. And these things you can make a lot of fun. But they are pressures. And these pressures are the type of thing you need. This is what Traveller does to get their players moving instead of having the game stand still. And it works. Like, Traveller can die in the vine and be a boring game if players just sort of sit around the place. I don't know what to do. Okay. See, Traveller is a paced game. A move forward, constant movement, constant push. And the way the designers for that game see it is they'll find a game that slows down boring, and they think their game is going to be boring to the players that play it if you slow down the pace. In D&D, some people don't care about that pace, and that's not going to be a standard for them. But in Traveller, that's a standard, right? So basically, the Traveller designer would look at D&D and the pace sometimes of that game and say, that's boring. That's the way they see it. I sort of agree. You want a pace to go. You want players to move forward, be active, and play the game. Pressures help. They really do. And I prefer a sandbox. So they were asking about emergent play. Emergent play just means to be simple, right? There is no pre-planning. And that's what a sandbox is, right? Sandbox is just like sort of like there's ideas in there, like the hooks, and nothing wrong with having ideas, guys. So Blue Thing 3D, nothing wrong with having hooks, right, at all. It might be enough sometimes. But what about when it's not? Pressure is guaranteed that regardless to where the players aim themselves, those are there. And there are opportunities. It's not like a force. It's not like a railroad. Like if I say there's only so much time to get to the thing, and you got to be open to this. The players have the right to say, yeah, not interested. All right. Right? In a sandbox, you got to be ready to make it up. But when you make it up, here's the thing. When you make it up, just understand, no matter what you made up, that's what I was going to say earlier. In between sessions, you can work on that. So just say you improvise some idea, like, you know what, I'm going to say there's like probably a dungeon down there. And just say you never had no plans on a dungeon anywhere, or even a tower or something. It's just something you think of like, yeah, screw it, I'll say there's one down there. You can have the confidence to say it. And you'd be like, well, I have nothing built, Steven. That's all right, dude. That's all right. Don't worry. You'll get your chance. Between sessions, it's if they go towards that tower, all right, design your tower. There's your incentive right there. Right? You made it up on the spot. And if you really got to, it's common sense too. Don't be afraid to trust yourself. So say in the same session, they go straight towards the tower. And possibly you might move it right to there. You'd be like, I have nothing planned. Well, you plan it during the go. See, the tower initially, when you improvise it in, it's going to be like an idea. Like a guy owns it. He has threats around his tower. These are the improvising ideas you throw together. Well, guess what, man? There's random encounters you can do. You can pause the game halfway through. You can pause and just say, all right, let's have a bit of an eat break. And while everyone else is using the washroom and all that, you're sitting there. And it's one thing what you plan out with the tower. It's another thing how you run it. How you run things is more important than exactly what you have down, right? You can give me a simple wizard with one little encounter. I'm going to make that fun, regardless to how simple it seems on paper, because I'm going to make the wizard interesting. I'm going to put some laugh to the encounter. I might throw a trap in, right? I might make it that the door is sealed by magic, whatever. I mean, and maybe the wizard lips off, taunts the player characters from like, the window, right? It's maybe I put like something around, like so if they walk in, there is like some type of, like a moat or something, right? You can't just get over right away unless you want to cross this thing. And if you do, you can get like sick from the water. Maybe it's just like spoiled everywhere. You can't step in. It's not hard to improvise ideas in randomly and quickly and then apply something to them. So never be afraid of that. Never be terrified of anything you just put a pre-plan or plan during a session on the spot and then add in as you go. That's it. Never be afraid. You got to know your game. So that'd be another thing I'd say to anyone before you sandbox or anything. Know the game really well. Know your game. Study it. I don't care if it's your first time, study it. Don't, like if you know a monster is going to be something that would wipe out a group of level, say, 1 or 2 characters, well, either that monster is going to be injured if you want to apply it, the monster doesn't outright attack, the monster gives opportunities, or you simply don't put that monster into the game if you don't want to just have them walk into something like that, right? Or you can accept that maybe a monster is to be avoided, right? So, but then opportunities to avoid have to be there. You can't just say, hey, they should avoid combat with the monster, but it's on the path in front of them. So you got to give opportunities, right? But for the most part, even if you're a new DM, you should have some idea. It's not hard to figure out, one-hit dice monsters are mostly okay against first-level characters. It's common sense. And old school D&D, they don't line things up exactly, but your common sense helps. But pressures, improvisation, that's how you get it going. Don't be afraid to improvise. I like putting hooks in there and everything, but it's like, the reason I talk about improvisation is not about the good ideas for what you pre-plan. See, the horror stories you get from DMs is not like, that hook I pre-planned, man. No, they're not going to ask for advice on that. If players go towards that thing, they're ready. Right? If players go to the things you plan, you're ready. All the horror stories and advice you need is for how do you deal with it when players don't go towards anything you planned. So first off, you get the players up and going. Pressures. What if they just go in a direction that you just have not sorted out in your head? And you have to make the session work. So they might want to go at something where it's just like, okay, I didn't really plan that out. What are you going to stick them at the town for the next 4 hours? No. So you're not going to do that. In old school, it'd be like 8 hours. But I mean, okay, so you're going to have to look. Sometimes they're going to try to move forward on things that you haven't planned out. So the advice people need is that improvising advice. The pressures. You don't need advice if players just get up and go towards your hooks. So I wouldn't bother talking about that. Like, I don't need to advise you to get to know your players and put hooks in. Like, you're already going to do that, aren't you? You don't need. That's not the problem you're running into. Of course, DMs want to know what their players think. And there's some DMs out there that can be careless. So, yes, of course, it's basic good advice to know what your players want and to design things around things. They might say, well, this is what I want my character to have. This is what my character's going to go after. Well, of course, design some things that relate to that, opportunities to that character. But the horror stories are usually never towards that. The horror stories are complaints or people running into problems or running into issues when the players either don't get up, and when they finally do get up, they don't go after anything you have pre-planned in your head. And you can't just have it nowhere. It's like, if a thought comes to you and they're walking to a corner of the town where you have no ideas, well, either it could be a boring session where you have them sit there looking at a wall, finding nothing, or you can be brave and take advantage of what you might come up with as they go there. So if you think, well, I should do that, I could do this. A lot of DMs will tell me over the years, well, even though they thought of it, they're scared to do it because it's really not planned out, right? They could have that guy say something, but they won't. And they can get sort of locked in a session. I'm like, you got to take your chance. If they go there and you come up with something, run with it. Just run with it. Be brave and run with it. Trust that you can improvise, and trust that in some cases you'll get time between sessions where you can then develop that into a thing once the players get on that path, right? Improvising is one thing a lot of guys are scared of. They're honestly scared of improvising. A good experienced DM will tell you they can run a game without prep. And to a lot of DMs, that sounds a little scary. But does that mean that guy is really more skilled than you? Is that what that means? That guy is just a better game master than you are? In most cases, no. You know what we discover as game masters? That making shit up as you go is not hard. Even without charts, it's not hard. But if you don't do it, it can seem scary. When you first get to try it, it can feel a little like a lot of work. You might even feel panic. But once you're willing to go through a gauntlet of fire, being put on the spot, it's almost how most DMs figure this out is they're forced into it. They're forced into it. Then they discover they can do it. I'm like, it's actually making shit up as you go is easy. It's one of the easiest processes as a game master there is, especially in a game like D&D. Making shit up as you go is not scary. It really isn't. There's a lot of tools there, right? And it's okay to do things like halfway through a session. Okay, guys, we're going to have a bathroom break. Okay, you're going to give me 15 minutes. And you just take that 15 minutes and look through, get what you need. And look, if you really need an extra 5, take the extra 5. Players don't want the session time that you're playing to suck. On pauses, it's okay to extend a bit of time, because in reality, the main concern is that you get it right. So a pause is okay. If you actually need another one, that's actually okay too. Players will prefer not a frequent amount of pauses, but they'll prefer 1 or 2 pauses with you stopping to make some notes and get things right. So when you go back into the session just moves forward as smooth as it can. Right? So make shit up. Trust yourself that you can make shit up and be able to apply things. And then trust that you can actually get a time to get the information you need. And then when that session is at its end, there's all that time between sessions for you to now develop that thing you made up even more. Right? So trust that you can make shit up, because that's the concern with a lot of game masters. You hear the horror stories over the years. You never know what a player is going to do. So what I'm telling you is be ready for it. And you might say, is there some solid advice for dealing with what players, when they won't do? No. What people are talking about is after we give you all the advice that we could give you to pre-plan stuff, all the best advice in the world. What game masters are telling you is, even after doing everything right, players might do something so screwed up, there's no way to plan for it. And there's no solid way other than just making shit up as you go to solve the issue. So it's not vague, but it's hard to spell out for you. I can tell you some common sense things, but it's hard to spell it out for you, but it's actually easier than it might sound initially, right? When players step off the beaten path or anything you have planned, you've done everything. You've taken every bit of advice you could ever hear on any video on here from any game master, right? You've done everything. You've checked what they need. You put the hooks and you do all this shit, and players are still going to find a way to go, yeah, fuck that. We're going to do something else. And you're like, oh, gee, that's everything, dude. Well, I appreciate that, Black Rose. I think it's good advice, but the way you know it's going to be good is when you do it. Some things I could tell you about, but until you do it, you don't know.